We will be once again in the Gospel of John this morning, skipping ahead to chapter 12. As the Easter season is upon us, we needed to move a little bit ahead from where we were in chapter 9. What is your favorite part of a movie? The part you like the most? Maybe some people think that the climax, the ending is the best part. Well, with my wife Nicole, the best part is the previews. Not necessarily the movie we even came to watch, but the previews. It's not a good day if we get there late and miss the previews. I never hear the end of that. But the previews are what she likes the best, because the previews give you lots of movies that are coming out. Some of them, they always look good in the preview, don't they? Isn't that the purpose of the preview? To let you know that something really good is coming. Sometimes they only give you a little hint at it to try to build your curiosity. Sometimes they tell you so much that you think you've already seen the movie. But it's to let you know what's coming up. And our text this morning is not going to be any different. Jesus, he often tried to explain to his followers what was going to happen, what was going to come when they went to Jerusalem, what was going to happen to him. From time to time he spoke of it. He tried to show them what was coming. And this morning it's going to be no different with our text in the Gospel of John chapter 12. And that is not working at all, is it? Shoot. All right. I wonder if I can do these all at once. Nope. I'm going to pause the video when I post it on YouTube, because this is embarrassing. When I was at home looking on it, that showed up perfectly, and once again, and on this machine I can't do it. Shoot. That's not it. Anyway, we'll have to make do. Can you turn off the lights, actually? I bet you that would do part of it. I'm not getting a lot of sunlight here. We spent the last 5 months in the dark without sunlight interfering, and all of a sudden there's light outside. It's kind of weird. All right, back to where we were. Chapter 12, verse 23. Let's read the first verse together, or let me read it. Jesus replied, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. You see, until this day, until Palm Sunday, which is actually next week, but we're getting a preview of what's coming, Jesus had always declined to accept the fame that his miracles brought. When people wanted to talk about them, he always said no. At times he told people, "Don't tell anyone that I healed you. Don't tell anyone that I gave you back your sight or I healed your leprosy. Keep it quiet." On other occasions, he slipped away from the crowd to be alone by himself. Great example, John 6:15 tells us that the crowds wanted to make him king by force, and he managed to slip away to a mountain by himself. Overall, Jesus behaved in the opposite fashion of our publicity-hungry culture. He tried to stay out of the spotlight, tried to downplay his fame. So why the change now? Why is he now saying the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified? The hour for what? For the purpose of Jesus' incarnation to be revealed. For the answer to the questions, why did we have a virgin birth? Why is he acting as if he's some traveling rabbi instead of a revolutionary fighter? Why is he holding back on all of this power that he has shown that he has? You see, the purpose of the Father could not have been fulfilled anywhere but Jerusalem, and they're now there. It could not have been fulfilled any time but Passover, and Passover is on hand. The fulfillment of the Old Covenant is necessary to establish the New, and it required a specific time and a specific place. Jesus goes on in verse 24 to say, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. He begins by giving his disciples an analogy an analogy of sacrifice. You see, in order to explain why Jesus chose the road to the cross, he must explain what this path is going to accomplish. What is the purpose of it? And why such a drastic method is necessary. You see, if there had been any other way, the Son of Man would not have chosen such a difficult path. Hebrews 9:22 reminds us, without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. The clear teaching of the Old Covenant, you read your Old Testament, read through that sometime. There must be sacrifice in order to justify forgiveness of sins. It's everywhere in there. That's how seriously God treats sin and rebellion. Jesus also explains in this analogy that death produces life. And nature offers us a glimpse into that, especially at springtime. We see seeds that were sown, seeds that were planted, plants that had lain dormant, now springing to life. It may seem to us counterintuitive, but death produces life. Victory over death, in the greater sense, could only be achieved through the death of a life that wasn't doomed to die, as we all are, but one that chose to die. A few days prior, Jesus told his disciples in John 10:10, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. He is about life. Is there any doubt in our minds that the death of Christ enabled lives in the souls of billions that were to follow? He goes on to say in verse 25, the man who loves his life will lose it, while the man who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. It's a question of following our leader. Jesus is himself the object lesson that proves this principle, by not clinging to his own life, but instead offering it up to a greater cause. As Christians, we're not being asked to do anything that our leader didn't himself do first. And we're not being asked to do nearly as much as what he did. It's not as if we are being asked to do something for the very first time that nobody else has done before. Jesus also is explaining here the futility of clinging to life. Science is always telling us a few more years and we're going to have this immortality figured out. We'll be living 300 years. We're going to fix it. We're going to stop the aging process. They've been promising that for some time. It's not going to happen. Mankind is indeed mortal. There isn't anything you or I can do to negate the hold the grave has on this life. It is a certainty. The only things certain in life, are they not death and taxes? Well, death is more certain than taxes. You can avoid those, but death is going to get you one way or another. Thankfully, thanks to the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, we are assured, however, that the grave will have no hold upon us beyond this world, because it couldn't hold him either, the message of Easter that is coming up. So why cling to something that you can't keep anyway? Why try to hold on to something that you're going to lose no matter what? Wouldn't it be wiser to spend that life in the service of a cause that will endure beyond your short years? This is your life, after all, that we are talking about. Don't you want it to count for something? Don't you want it to matter in the grander scheme of things? Well, Jesus talks about that. Verse 26, he says, whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Whoever serves me must follow me. He's saying to you, let your actions speak for you. Jesus doesn't need more spokespeople. He needs followers. The cause of Christ doesn't need an image consultant or a PR firm to make it better. It needs dedicated men and women who are willing to follow down the path of the trail that Jesus already blazed for us. He's not asking you to be Lewis and Clark, wandering in the wilderness, not sure where you're going and hoping to find the ocean eventually. He's asking you to follow down a path that has already been laid for you, clearly marked by Christ who went first. He's asking you to be a servant following the servant. As much as anything else that our world doesn't understand about God and the gospel, this is right up at the top of the list. Why anyone with Jesus' power, with his fame, with his ability, could forsake that wealth, that's what I was trying to say. I can't read my own handwriting once again. Could forsake that wealth and that ease to instead choose a life of poverty, a life of hardship, a life of service, and ultimately a life that ended in death. How anyone could choose that when you have choices like Jesus had, our world doesn't understand. Because we are fixated, are we not, on getting ahead, on climbing that ladder or whatever it leads to. We don't even notice that Jesus voluntarily stayed at the bottom to help others. He didn't even try to climb. He says to you this morning, leave the glory to the Father. Those who serve the cause of Christ should not expect honor in this life. So don't be disappointed when you don't get it. However, we have a promise. We have a promise from God that in the next life, those who are last will be first, and those who are first will be last. The honor that matters, that perseveres, that will last, comes from the Father. Jesus has a personal moment, a personal question here in verse 27. He says, now my heart is troubled. And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No. It was for this very reason I came to this hour. You see, we serve a God who understands the burden of sacrifice, who understands what it is like. Some people think God doesn't really care about what happens down here. He's too remote from our worries and our struggles to understand what this life is like. They think that God doesn't get what it's like to be us. But when God came near to us in the incarnation, Jesus took on everything that humanity entails. He became like us in every single way except one, except sin. So the mental fatigue that you sometimes feel, Jesus knew. The physical strain that you sometimes